imagine how good that would be.
Back towards goal, hits the post, but tapped in, and there's Sam Bell.
Naismith slays in corner, that'll do it.
And he make an impact right away. He'll try.
Oh yes! Tommy Cromwell's only gone and done it again.
All smiles and all three results in Liam Manning's first three games. He'll reach double figures for matches in charge by the end of a busy December, and the month kicks off with the visit of his hometown club Norwich. These sides 2 points apart in the table, a similar assignment then to the last home game against Middlesbrough. A repeat of that display would go down well. Norwich have found consistency hard to come by with just 2 wins in their last 9 and squandered a 2-goal lead in midweek. The Robins against the Canaries, who is capable of spreading their wings and taking flight towards the playoff places. We will find out live on Robins TV, and we'll find out in the company of Bristol City legend Gary Hours, who joins us in the studio today. Gary, very good afternoon to you. Mercifully, the weather's a bit warmer than it was yesterday, with a deep freeze across the country, but how much are you looking forward to this one, considering the performance that City put in midweek, and you were there?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, they give it a really good effort in midweek, very solid in the first half, and obviously 3 golden opportunities to go in the lead, and they just couldn't quite take them on the day. And Southampton come out a little bit brighter in the second half and stole the 3 points, but plenty of positives. Liam come up with a different formation, which surprised everybody, and back to a more sort of tried and tested formation today. So yeah, a couple of changes, and Norwich are struggling a little bit, so a good opportunity to get 3 points.
He wants Bristol City to be more ruthless, Liam Manning. He was delighted though with the execution of the game plan, the desire. He said it was 99% there, but just that cutting edge. Yeah,
it's always about the last pass or the finish. You know, I hear 1 or 2 things about Tommy Conway, but Tommy Conway's been scoring goals since he was 6 or 7, and he lives for it. He's not going to stop scoring all of a sudden, and strikers have little periods where they don't quite get that final touch, but I'm sure it won't be too long before he's back on top form.
Cam Pring back from suspension, you mentioned. Andy Vyman coming back into the side. We'll get a full check on the team news shortly, but week by week, that depth is growing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and really important. I think Andy's been in and out the side. He'll be a little bit frustrated, but I think that position suits him. You can make them runs from deep. Hopefully Cam can get up behind him and support him from left back as well. And I think it's really good and quite important for City to have Mark Sykes playing a more advanced position. I think that he's done really well at left wing back, but just took a little bit of the cutting edge off them in forward position. So that's a pleasing change.
Norwich have got some big names back as well. They've rung the changes today, including their top scorer and also a change in goal. We'll get all the details now, including Bristol City's couple of alterations from that Southampton defeat in midweek. Let's head up to the gantry for the first time this afternoon ahead of this Sky Bet Championship match at Ashton Gate and join our lead commentator, Toby Osborne. A very good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rob. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, very excited about this one. Norwich, of course, stuttering at the moment. Bristol City looking to bounce back and continue what is becoming a decent enough home form. Can they make it 3 wins from 3 at Ashton Gate? As I said, Norwich struggling a bit at the moment. They make 4 changes after they threw away defeat at Watford last weekend. They went 2 goals up before conceding 3 and went home empty-handed. Angus Gunn returns between the sticks, as Rob mentioned. At the back, Danny Bart is dropped, with many suggesting McLean drops in with Stacey, Duffy and Yanulis. Gibbs comes into midfield alongside August Championship Player of the Month, Gomez Sara. And then Rowe comes into a 3 alongside Onel Hernandez and Nunez. And then up top, Ashley Barnes left Burnley in the summer after years at Turf Moor. He will lead the line today. Bristol City make 2 changes from St Mary's defeat. Cal Naismith so unfortunate to pick up yet another injury issue. Cam Pring returns following suspension. The other switch sees club captain Andy Vyman return to the 11. He replaces Sam Bell. Matty James in a midfield 2 with Gardner Hickman, who scored that wonderful goal last time we were here. He must tread carefully though today, 1 booking away from suspension himself. Jason Knight will sit in a more advanced position, and beyond him Vyman and Sykes each side of Conway. Sykes, by the way, picked up picked the in-stadium music today ahead of kick-off, and it's gone down very well on Twitter, so check that out. A place on the bench for young Jed Meerholz. Jed joined the Reds at under-9 level after catching the eye of scouts at Brislington Juniors. Yeboah and Knight Labelle are there too, and now Bristol City have the highest percentage of minutes played by youth-developed players in the top 2 divisions in English football, so something to be proud of there. Can they deliver the goods today? One man that we'll be hoping they do is our manager, and that is Liam Manning.
Liam, a few changes today, but can bring back Andy Vyman. In terms of those 2 players, what will they bring this afternoon?
Fresh energy, which obviously in a heavy week is important. So obviously, one of the changes in force, but at the same point, when it's such a heavy period we have him, but also what we're going into as well, we need to use the squad. We need to make sure that everybody's ready to step in and obviously play their part when called upon.
We've used the subs with good effect. In terms of the rotation of the squad, what kind of energy will they all bring, really?
Yeah, off the back of the first half the other night especially, should be in a really good spot, should be looking forward to get going. Like you said about the energy, I think it starts with the head, right? I think it has to be tough, you have to be mentally tough, you have to relish the challenge of what you put your body through. So again, them behaviours that we spoke around, the intensity we have to work at, the bravery we have to show, that will be the starting point today.
In terms of homegrown players, I think we're topping the tables regarding percentage of homegrown players. Another one on the bench today, Jed Meerholz. Tell us about him.
Jed, we've seen Jed a few times. He's trained with us a few times. Obviously, I've watched numerous 21s games as well. So we work closely. Obviously, Brian knows all the lads in the academy and does a terrific job, as does the academy staff. So he's someone obviously that we've seen in training that to be fair to him, he's done the basics really well, which I think for a young player is always the starting point. So been pleased with the bits he's shown. So obviously there's the opportunity.
In terms of today's game, Norwich City, I know you were focused on ourselves, but they've scored a lot of goals. They've also conceded a lot of goals. What kind of game do you think it could be today?
An extremely difficult one. Obviously, when you look at the squad they've got, the depth they've got, the attacking threats they've got. But at the same point, they've got areas that we feel we can exploit, areas that we think we can, cause them problems, which I think is equally as important, if not more so. It's going to be a tough game, one hopefully where we come out on top.
Liam Manning there chatting to Robbins TV ahead of today's game at Ashton Gate in front of over 20,000 people. Bristol City against Norwich City. We're in the company of Gary Hours, who's going to be summarising the game for us today. We just heard from head coach Liam Manning there. Obviously he plays us straight back to the question about the opposition. He knows they've got threats and they've got John Rowe back, their top scorer with 8 goals this season, but they've also got a midfielder, Kenny McLean, playing centre half. So do you think that's an opportunity for them to probe away?
It's always an opportunity. Liam will have identified the strengths and the weaknesses of the side. They've made numerous changes, so David Wagner's tried to freshen it up. I mean, they threw away, didn't they, a 2-goal lead in midweek, so they'll be a little bit disappointed with that. Of course, we've already seen them once here at Ashton Gate in the Cup where they were victorious, so hopefully that won't happen. But yeah, Jonathan Rowe will be a threat from midfield, getting up to support Ashley Barnes, who'll want to do well, of course, because he's back in his native Bristol.
I was listening to the fans forum earlier this week, and the full audio is available as a podcast wherever you get your podcast from the Bristol City official channel. One of the standout moments, the question was posed to Brian Tinian about the academy and how many players are coming through, and I think he said about 10 players are almost ready to step in, because in the top 2 leagues in the country, no one can match Bristol City in terms of getting academy products in. We see it again today with Jed Meerholz, and it continues to bear incredible fruit. Brilliant
testament to the job that they've all done across the club. Massive improvements in the numbers of academy players getting into the first team. Loads of opportunities, and of course when they get those opportunities, the young lads have got to try and take them and stay there for as long as possible. And if there's 10 ready to come through, I don't know whether they're all going to fit into the side, but look forward to seeing some of them coming into the action in the coming weeks.
Good stuff. Thanks, Gary. Time for a special interview now. He's had an incredible career as an actor, as a presenter. We all know him as a Bristol City fan who's been coming down to Ashton Gate for years. Let's hear now from Tony Robinson, the great Tony Robinson, ahead of kick-off.
So Tony, it's an hour before kick-off.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like it? It's a feeling like no other, isn't it? The music's playing, you've got a few of the guys lurking around, still dressed in black, a load of balls out there. There's everything except the crowd and the players. A weird feeling.
They'll soon be in. So, Tony, you've done some fantastic things in your career. Time team, Blackadder. But in terms of football, what does football mean to you?
Everything. I mean, profoundly deep, my relationship with football. I've been a football supporter since I was about 12 in London. And when I came down to Bristol, I immediately took Bristol City to my heart and have supported them for the best part of half a century. And my son, who is now in his 40s, he came to see his first matches here in the Dolman and has supported them ever since. And still, we will phone each other once or twice a week. Hey, they've won. Oh, they've lost. Oh, we're going to be promoted this year. Oh, we're going to be relegated. Of course, we talk about other stuff too, but that is a very blokey relationship, isn't it, that so many people have with their sons, that we talk about football.
Brilliant. And in over those 50 years, you've seen some highs, you've seen some lows. But in terms of coming to Ashton Gate, how much of an enjoyable experience is that for you?
Oh, it's terrific. I just think it's a really good crowd at Ashton Gate. Even in the times when away fans were really, really hostile, actually, by and large, they melted a bit. There was always a few bits of duffing up in the park, which were, really unpleasant, and we wouldn't tolerate that now. But you kind of, you knew that kind of thing was going to happen. But compared with going to an awful lot of grounds, it just felt good. Deep down, the people here knew that the most important thing was their lives, and football was something wonderful that was on top of their lives, rather than thinking all the time, which some away fans felt, which is a bit sad.
You've had a fantastic acting career. But if you were a football manager, and I can't let you go without asking you this, if you were a football manager, what kind of a cunning plan would you have to win games?
Well, I married a girl from Stoke, and her dad was the chairman of Stoke at the time when their whole club was transformed because they bought a 46-year-old man who turned out to be the greatest footballer in England, and that was Stanley Matthews. So I think my plan for us is go and find a 46-year-old man today who is as good as Stanley Matthews. We'll get him for a few grand. He'll win us a few matches. Crowds will double. We'll be able to buy more players. Wolf will be in the Prem, and after 2 or 3 years establishing ourselves, we'll win and beat Bayern Munich in the final of the European Cup.
Sounds very simple and eminently doable. So, Tony, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Why doesn't every manager do that?
That was absolutely brilliant. Sir Tony Robinson there, urging Bristol City to sign a 46-year-old man to transform their fortunes. That was when Gary Howe was putting his hand up. Think you've been generous there.
Oh, thanks.
Breaking news here at Ashton Gate is that the FA Cup third round draw has been made, and Bristol City have been drawn away to Premier League side and 3-time FA Cup winners West Ham. Now, West Ham is a club that Liam Manning spent 4 years as a coach at, coaching their under-23s, so a great return for him, a brilliant draw for Bristol City and the travelling support. Over 2,800 went to Southampton in the week, and I'm sure demand for tickets for that game will be pretty high as well. We'll have more reaction to that and all the build-up after this break. Welcome back to Robins TV. Bristol City against Norwich City in the Sky Bet Championship coming your way. A 1:30 p.m. kickoff here at Ashton Gate. 2 changes for Bristol City, 5 for Norwich. Full commentary from Toby Osborne and Gary Hours coming your way very soon indeed. But we've just had the draw for the FA Cup third round, and Bristol City have been drawn away to West Ham United, 9th in the Premier League under David Moyes, the current Europa Conference League champions, of course. Gary, your reaction to the draw?
I think it's absolutely brilliant draw, especially for the fans. I mean, anyone who hasn't been to the Olympic Stadium is in for a treat because it is a fantastic stadium. All the surroundings are really nice as well, so the supporters will enjoy the trip to London. And it's a game that they can go and have a really good go at. Of course, David Moyes in charge. I think Rob Newman is head of recruitment there at West Ham, so plenty of Bristol City connections. And yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, and Liam Manning spent 4 years as a coach there at the under-23, so he'll be familiar with the surroundings. But like you say, Bristol City fans probably won't have gone to that stadium before. It's a new adventure.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, I was lucky enough to work on the National League playoff final a couple of years ago, Grimsby and Solihull, and spent a couple of days in and around the stadium, and it is really, really top class. And the people that say it's not really a stadium for football, well, they're in for a nice surprise because it's brilliant.
Good stuff. Well, the tie's set to take place in the first week in January, so West Ham against Bristol City, third round of the FA Cup. But today we're focusing on the Championship and all matters Norwich City, who are the visitors. These sides separated by just 2 points and 1 place in mid-table. It's an opportunity actually today for Bristol City to jump up to as high as 7th if they can win. Let's see how they can beat Norwich now with some analysis of the opposition. Let's have a look back at a couple of clips from their midweek defeat to Watford at Vicarage Road. I mean, they took a 2-goal lead, storming goal here from Uji Hwang. He's out now with a hamstring injury until the new year, so a dangerous player, unavailable.
Yeah, I mean, he's missing, but that's just a moment of individual brilliance, isn't it? We've seen that last week with Taylor Gardner-Hickman. The keeper's off his line a little bit, but he's executed that brilliantly.
Ujo Hwang unavailable. He's on loan, but he's picked up a hamstring injury, so a blow that for David Wagner as he tries to arrest a bit of a slide in form. Just 2 wins in their last 9. They had a mixed November, 2 wins, 2 defeats, but yeah, it's been a long-running stretch of fairly barren results after a positive start to the season. Let's look at the next clip then. One of the goals that they conceded as Watford overturned this 2-0 deficit to win 3-2. Pile a bit more pressure on the German coach, and the closing down here from Jack Stacey I think maybe leaves a little bit to be desired.
Well, it's a retreating back 4. I mean, you can see the structure, flat back 4, 2 holding midfield players, but when he picks a ball up here, nobody wants to go and make a tackle. They just drop off eventually till the Watford player gets into the box, and then they can't really touch him, can they? But that's pretty poor and dismal defending.
Mm-hmm. And the Bristol City attacking players, who've got plenty of pace in them, will be licking their lips at clips like that.
I would think so. I mean, you get Campring up in them attacking positions, Mark Sykes, and who can both go on the outside of defenders, and they could be in business today.
We touched on it earlier. Bristol City's performance, particularly in the first half at St Mary's, was very bright, created 3 clear-cut opportunities. We can look back at some of the clips from that game now.
Yeah, solid in the first half, and soaked up a lot of pressure. Southampton were good at passing the ball, but not so good in the final third with their executions. And I think this is Mark Sykes, isn't it, at the far post. That was an excellent save. I was right behind that. I thought it was just going to sort of creep over the line, but it didn't. Great ball in there from the right hand side, and a very brave diving header. And of course, this is just before half time. Tommy Conway, just a little bit of a heavy touch, and tries to go around the goalkeeper, who was a little bit stranded, but he guessed right, I suppose, and kept Tommy at bay.
Southampton played quite a high line in that passage. Are you expecting the same from Norwich today?
Well, not going on the clip that we've just seen. They look like they want to drop off, and Southampton did play really, really high and pressed the game. So different teams have different tactics, of course, and we'll see that once the game gets underway.
City pressing high there, and the subs like Harry Cornett making an impact. That's going to be crucial today.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been handball, couldn't it? And then he got into a great position just after that, actually, and one decent pass, and City were in. But again, it's all about making that right pass at the right time.
Andy Weimann comes back, captain. Slightly quieter season so far for him. Injury hit, I know. Yeah. So he'll be eager to make an impression.
Of course, injury hit. and in and out the side, different positions, and that is one of the downsides of being flexible, is that you don't always get in a run in the side in your favoured position. I still think he's better attacking through the middle, but we know that he can make runs from deep, well-timed runs, and if they do play a high line, he's more than capable of getting in behind.
As I touched on, a victory today could lift City. I mean, it's the only game in town today in terms of the Championship. You go as high as 7th today.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's a really, really tight league, and missed an opportunity during the week, of course, and to improve the position. So let's hope they can do it this afternoon.
In terms of the crowd today, they
well,
can play a big
it's
part.
going to be 22,000 at least, isn't it? I think I've seen about half a dozen Santa Clauses heading this way from along the Portway, so they'll be dressed in red and white attire, I'm sure. Looking forward to that.
And from what you've heard and from what you've seen on the pitch and off the pitch, what are your early impressions of Liam Manning?
I think it's early days. I think he speaks really, really well. He's quite calm and composed. He doesn't get too carried away or say anything controversial. And he's played 2 different formations in 3 games. So gone back to something similar to what he started with this afternoon. And it's going to be time. I mean, my own feeling is it'll take a while because he's still got the same squad that he inherited from Nigel, so that it's really hard to come up to do something different quickly. So it might be wait until we get to January and hopefully bring 1 or 2 more players in to add to what he's already got, and then that might shape things a little bit differently.
This was brought up, as you can imagine, in the fans forum quite a bit. Is January business going to happen? And the talk from the hierarchy was that if there's a deal that's perhaps available to them that was going to be in the summer, they could bring it forward, then perhaps, they may well do so.
They'll do it. I've got no doubts in my mind that there'll be people walking through the door in January. I don't think they can afford not to. We're talking about being 7th, and hopefully we can improve on that position before January, and then consolidate your position and try and build on it. You never know.
Yeah, it's a busy month coming up. We're looking forward to it. There's 7 games. It starts with the visit of Norwich City. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube, I'm afraid it's time to say goodbye, but there's still time to buy a match pass and enjoy full coverage, full commentary from Toby Osborne and Gary Hours. It's just £10. And we hope to join you there. But for now, we say goodbye to viewers on Facebook and YouTube.